Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, this is Rico. With Myles agreeing to a new deal, I'm still torn on this. Reason being, I see good organizations able to pivot away from their elite talent and still win. But the common denominator with those teams is they have the combination of the main three ingredients that you need: GM, coach, and QB, which, helps them navigate any personnel movement. So on one hand, I'm glad Myles took the money and decided to stay. But on the other hand, I kind of wanted to see how this franchise can trade away a player the caliber of Myles and see what we recoup with the premium draft capital that trade would have provided. What say you?
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Spencer German from 92.3 The Fan, Cleveland Browns on SN, and Locked On Browns podcast. When you look at it, Spencer, I don't think they would have gotten as much draft capital as they wanted for Myles Garrett, which is why they weren't going to trade him.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I also think, from Andrew Berry's perspective, he's being defined right now by the Deshaun Watson trade first and foremost. Like that's the number one thing on his resume that he's going to be viewed and judged by. And, because of that situation, what it's led to at this point, he's sort of alienated the best player on the team this offseason, and trading that player was not going to be good for business, right? Like he has to think about what's best for the team, as he sort of stated. And the ability to try to call Myles bluff in a way and basically say we're closing the door on that, I think is notable and important. And yeah, like if his job is really on the line this year, him and Kevin Stefanski potentially, he has to do what was most advantageous to winning football games, and trading Myles Garrett was obviously not that thing. So I'm kind of surprised it ended this way. I thought Myles seemed pretty dug in. We got the report obviously last Friday about him potentially being willing to miss games next year. And because of that, like I was starting to believe a little bit more like, okay, like he's really going to take this thing and make it as ugly as he can. So I was surprised to see a resolution come to pass so sort of quickly after that report, and as early as this weekend. But I guess Andrew Berry does deserve some credit on this one for sticking to his guns. And it seemed like there was always this sort of quiet confidence that they knew they could figure this thing out, and they did. And yeah, listen, I understand the caller's dilemma of like, you could have traded him, got something, and sort of done a reset here and started fresh. But I think everybody should be able to agree that keeping one of the best players in franchise history, and clearly what is one of, if not the best defensive player in football right now, is a win for the Browns on, for the most part.
So where do they go from here? What's the plan now? Now that Myles is back, where do they go?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, there's a couple ways you could take that question. Like, for starters, I don't worry about his work ethic. He cares too much about legacy. We're playing hard, all those different things to let that affect his game next year. Like, I believe with him being back under contract, he is back bought in, and that's the most important thing. From the fan perspective, I don't think anyone holds this against him, obviously, this year. And then from the third angle of this, let me just go back for a second. I don't think anybody holds this against him, because once he's back out on the field, he's going to be the Myles Garrett that you know and love, and people will quickly forget, because when you play good football, it's easy to forget. But yeah, from a standpoint of like where they go from here this offseason, there's the number one thing that everyone continues to talk about is figuring out the quarterback position. And I do think this opens up, an interesting question about what they pitched Myles on. Because I've been saying, Dave, like, there's no way back in January when they met at, end of the season meetings, that they could map out to Myles, hey, here's the bullet pointed things of what we're going to do. We're going to get this quarterback, and we're going to make this move. We're going to make that move. There's just too much unknown at that time. I mean, playoff games are still going on, all those different things. Now they have a more finite plan. They have a clearer idea of, here's the quarterbacks that are going to be available in free agency. Here's what we're going to do with our number 2 draft pick potentially. Here's what we're looking at. Here's what we're considering. So I got to believe they have a more succinct plan at this point. Maybe they pitch that to Myles. And what's interesting too is like, that plan could be 2 different things. It could be, yeah, we're drafting Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders at 2. We're going to get our quarterback. It also could be, hey, we're going to draft Abdul Carter, pair you with a really good pass rusher, and not do this kind of rent a pass rusher program they've been doing the last couple of years, and then talk about quarterback next year potentially. So a couple different options there. But I do think this sort of seems to suggest that quarterback will be the priority at number 2.